Hello, Fightful Faithful, and welcome to another episode of the post-show NXT deal on Tuesdays on Fightful. I got to find a new name for this thing. Patrick Mason, fan of the show on the Twitter, calls it Sweet and Sour Graps, which I probably will have to adopt at some point because it's mostly sweet. The main event was sour, but not because it was bad, because it's not bad. It's just, I really don't want to watch Karrion Kross anymore, guys. I really don't. I just don't. I'm done. I gave it a while. I'm done. I'm done with Karrion Kross thing now. I'm not into it. It's just not for me. God bless you if it's for you. Wonderful. Mazel tov. Happy for you. Not for me. No. So the match was good. Not as good as their first match, but I guess the novelty of it. I think the dread for me of what was apparently going to happening made me not love this match as much as maybe other people. Also, my apparent unremitting hatred for all things Karrion Kross. I don't know, man. It doesn't speak to me at all, and it's so frustrating because of the fact that he speaks to the people in charge of NXT. But we are here on Fightful to talk about NXT, and there's a lot of good things to talk about NXT. A lot of really good things. Please send in a super chat. I will read them on the air. That's how this works. Perhaps they will spin me off into a tangent we can't recover from. Who knows? Ricardo, El Capitan de LIW, says this main event humped. Yes, it did. In a vacuum, it absolutely humped. There was so much humpage in a vacuum. Knowing the likely fate of Finn Balor throughout the match took me out of it for most of it because he's likely headed back to the main roster now, where Vince could make him smiley guy in a leather jacket again, and that would be such a horrible waste of such great talent. Well, I mean, like, welcome to the club, Finn, again, but yeah. Yes, the match did hump. We'll talk about some other things and how it's working over at NXT. For example, I appreciate NXT like doing a rundown. This is what's happening tonight, so hopefully people will like stick around and watch the show because they haven't had very good ratings. I appreciate them all standing there and going like, this is what's happening tonight. That's good. And setting up things for the future is good. How do I say this? It's come to my attention that there are a lot of people out there who do not feel that NXT is back, baby. And they're welcome to their opinion. And I think a lot of what I've heard, for example, from our friends over at The Distraction, Jeremy and Joseph, is that it's just matches. It's really good matches and not enough story building. And it's true. There was a fantastic match on Raw last night. I couldn't care less about because I don't care about the story. I mean, if it leads to something, sure, but it's out of the blue. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't care. For some reason, I feel connected to all the personalities in NXT, and so their great matches, I feel like, are leading to something. And maybe what they're leading to is that there has always felt like in NXT there is an overarching arc for every character. that everybody has a chance to like build themselves up, go through the mid card, or perhaps get a rocket push or whatever. They get to the certain level that they're at. They hold a title. They lose that title. They either go to the main roster or drop back down. That seems to be like that arching thing for everybody. And if the people that I root for, I get to like root for them along that path. And yeah, the matches are great. And if your thing is like, I want storytelling and promos, nah, NXT is not for you. I get that. I totally get it. I find that I get that kind of stuff elsewhere in my wrestling stuff. And so I don't mind so much that I don't get it nearly as much in NXT, because NXT is where I know I can tune in for 2 hours and see a couple of matches that hump. J.K. Schwal asks, who is Public Enemy number 1? Karrion Kross, Trevor Ariza, or Goran Dragic? Bucks are back and NXT is back. Let's not count our chickens, JK, before they're hatched. Anything the last 2 years have taught me is that I cannot trust this Bucks team in the playoffs. It's a different Bucks team now. But yes, the Public Enemy number 1 is Karrion Kross. Like, Trevor Ariza, get out of here with that stuff, man. You're the 9th most important player on that team. And Gragic, I mean, he plays well against us. He's not even getting minutes on his own team. It's not. It's Kross. Kross is the Public Enemy number 1. Let's talk about good stuff. Okay. The first match I did not know was going to happen, and I'm happy it was. It's good. Is Ember and Shotzi versus Dakota and Raquel Gonzalez. Now, this is part of the NXT thing that they need to work on. You have the NXT women's tag titles. Was 3 weeks ago now that they were defended in the main event in a street fight, and Candice and Indy won them. And since then, we've seen Candice one time in like a offset shoot for like at the spa thing. We haven't seen them back again. They haven't had a match. They haven't had because there aren't enough people for them to fight. They don't have anybody else. They can't just move on to another team. Because Dakota and Raquel want them back, so they got to go through the former champs who just want an automatic rematch, which is Ember and Shotzi. They have 3 teams right now. 3. That's it. That's all they have. I'm not counting Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea. That's not a thing. That doesn't exist. And we haven't seen Casey and Caden on TV in weeks. So I don't know. Is that 3 teams and that's all we have? That's a problem when you've created a couple of title belts for a division where you only have 3 competing acts. That doesn't seem like it's there's a lot of foresight there. But we've talked about this. Doesn't mean the matches can't be great. It just means you can only see, what is that? You can either see Ember and Shotzi versus Candice and Indy, or Ember and Shotzi versus Raquel and Dakota, or Raquel and Dakota versus Candice and Indy. What is that? Like, is that 6 possible combinations? I lost count. That's not a lot of possible combinations. So, yeah, that's a problem. This match wasn't a problem, though, because it was great. And the big deal I came out of it with is, well, all 4 of these women are very, very talented, and I like all of them very much. But the big deal I came away with this is that this match, I thought, was being done as whoever wins this match are the next to challenge Indy and Candice. But apparently, the way it was positioned was whoever wins this match is the one to challenge Raquel, which is interesting. The match was, again, great. A lot of really good stuff in it. But the big deal was that Ember reversed Raquel's giant one-arm powerbomb thing. She reversed it into a modified eclipse. It was badass. It looked great. Raquel sold the hell out of it. And then Ember and Shotzi got a double team move on Dakota for the victory. And I'm like, okay, great. Good. Like, I was kind of excited for the potential of Raquel and Dakota versus Indy and Candice, simply because we've never seen that match yet. And I do feel like I've seen all the things I need to see from Ember and Shotzi versus Candice and Indy. But whoops, nope, that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is, I think, giving Dakota. That's a hey there. Why not? Dakota, that's the name of their tag team now, is giving Raquel her next challenger. Her next challenger, probably going to be Ember, because she knocks down Ember after, and then takes out Shotzi, and has Dakota make Ember watch as she destroys Shotzi on the outside. Just throwing her, powerbombing her into the ring post and the plexiglass, which, ouch, I suppose. And then she like gorilla press and then drops her chin first on the barricade, which definitely ouch. And says, "You're next," to Ember. So this is fine. This is good. Ember versus Raquel, sign me up for that. That's going to be really great. I really can't wait for that. Can we do that at TakeOver in a couple of weeks? You guys should probably start booking matches for that, because it's like a couple of weeks away. And it's starting to feel like this TakeOver really is an in-your-house TakeOver, in that it's the way lesser of all the pay-per-views from back in the 90s. Like, nobody really cared about the in-your-house pay-per-views. I mean, they were fun and everything, but they weren't the real pay-per-views. So this feels like a TakeOver. They're like, we're going to throw together some matches for it. More on that later. But I still would love to see that match. The problem with that is, now you have one half of one potential tag team contender versus one half of another potential tag team contender. And so on that TakeOver, Indy and Candice don't get to defend their titles. There's no feud for them going into it. We see later in the night, and I'll talk about it now, that Indy is looking for Dexter. Now, she ran away from the spa last week to go and like, hey, I got to go find Dexter. He still loves me. He still loves me. But of course, we saw that he was rejected by her while he was massaging her because she had cucumbers over her eyes. It's a long story. If you didn't see it, it's a long story. But so she's running around now. I don't know if it took her like a week to run from the spa to the performance center tonight. But she seems to be in frantic looking for Dexter. She finally gets directions from a helpful Drake Maverick, who points her in. I thought I saw him a couple hours ago in that room right over there. And she walks in, and that room right over there is apparently like a broom closet that's not no brooms in it. But what it does have is a lot of clip art of broken hearts and screws and knives and nails through hearts. And it's all somebody used all the ink in their printer. That's expensive stuff. And they printed out all this stuff and put it up all over the wall. And there were a couple of actual drawings by Dexter Lumis, who, as we all know, is a caricature artist, of himself, just so Indy gets the message. Dexter must like standing over Indy with the cucumber eyes, and she's saying "loser" in a little word bubble coming out of her mouth, and he's got a knife through his heart and he's crying. It's like, oh no, Dexter, and she runs away. And so I guess they've decided we're going to put the women's tag titles on the back burner because we don't have any contenders for them. I mean, you could easily do the thing I was saying, is figure out a way. It would take a while to create this tag team, but you could do a Tony and Zoe. Remember, Tony Stark would be the name of this tag team. Tony and Zoe could, like, create a grudging respect for each other and become a tag team, and they could become tag champions. Or you could have, hey, we've already seen that that Zoe and Saray have a rapport. They could be a tag team. You could put them together. You're WWE. You have no problem slapdashing two people together, making them a tag team. You have no problem doing that. So you could do that too. Saray and Zoe appear to have nothing going on. So you could just slap them together, make them a tag team, and give them a title match. Because why wouldn't you? You're a WWE product. Unearned title matches is kind of what you guys do. So, yeah, why not? Why not have Zoe and Saray versus Ember and Shotzi? Not Ember and Shotzi. Good Lord. My brain is just off the charts bad today. Candice and Indy. And, of course, if this was happening on Raw, I'd be furious. You can't just slapdash two people together and make them into a tag team and give them a title shot out of the blue. That doesn't make any sense. But in NXT, where the point is apparently just that the matches are great, I mean, give me Saray and Zoe versus Indy and Candice all day. Because we've abandoned all hope of actual, that other thing being a major part of it. The big thing is we got to make sure the matches are great so everyone tunes into that. If you don't love matches, if that's not your number one thing about wrestling, then NXT might be not for you, because they've decided we're not doing the promo work and all that kind of stuff that they do in AEW and to a much lesser extent on Raw and SmackDown. I maybe that's why Kross doesn't make sense to me, because I don't get who he is. I never have, and they haven't really done a great job of having him explain himself, get himself over on the mic in any way. Maybe because he can't. I don't know. Anyway, the end of all this is we get Ember and Raquel probably at TakeOver. I think is where they're going, and that match is going to be all kinds of great. Is Ember going to win? No, probably not. But there appears to be reports from our own Sean Ross Sapp, he of the scoops. Subscribe to Fightful Select to get all the scoops from Sean Ross Sapp. Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of really great stuff that is coming out about people moving around. NXT UK might get actual straight up call-ups to the main roster. Now, is that good for those people? No, it's not good for those people. They have to work under Vince, and Vince doesn't know what to do with anybody. But it's gonna create openings for people, and a lot of it is what I've heard is that some of the stuff that people who might be being called up are going to be people you might not expect. You know what I mean? So if somebody you might not expect gets called up, maybe they want to do Shotzi and Ember on the main roster and get another tag team on the main roster, but that means there's 0 tag teams on NXT. So we never know who's going to get called up at this point. It wasn't really a call up because he wasn't on TV, but old Bugenhagen is on SmackDown now. Rick Boogs. All he's doing is playing the guitar for Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance as of now, but it's still a call up. So who knows who's coming up and doing what? Listen, it all depends on who Vince takes a liking to, becomes infatuated with, and decides to push for 2 months before he gets tired of them. Tommy and Timmy have a wonderful little deal in the back. They do their thing where they put the cart before the horse. They say they were called out MSK too early. Apparently, we still got to go through GUIV again. They do the thing now, which is tradition apparently, where Ciampa jumps up and throws the chair behind him as he does so, and storms off. And then Timmy just smiles his toothless grin. Which is very intimidating. And then he does something I hadn't seen before, which is he also gets up and throws his chair against the garage door thing they have there, makes a big clatter. And I arose to see what was the matter, and he says, "I'm looking forward to breaking all of your limbs." And then Ciampa comes back and puts his arm around Timmy, which we're in favor of. We're all about friendship here on the post NXT Fightful podcast. But it did feel kind of unnecessarily weirdly cringy aggressive. Yeah. I don't know how to even respond to this. I know you hate him, but I absolutely effing love Karrion Kross. Hell, my son's first name is Karrion. I've been following Kross for several years now. Hey, man. Whatever you, that's awesome for you. Your son's first name is Karrion. I'm sure he's a great kid. Awesome. Good for you. I mean, I won't even good. Good. Yes. I just love who you love. Love who you love. Be a fan of who you want to be a fan of. I haven't seen anybody explain it to me in a way that makes sense of why he is good. That's I haven't seen it. Perhaps I have to find time out of my very busy schedule and go and see what the hell was up with him in other places before he got here, because I'm not necessarily very familiar with much of his work pre NXT, but I haven't seen it at all in NXT. Got two super chats back to back about the same thing. Eddie Mox versus Thatcher and Ciampa, please and thank you, says Evan Wright. And Matthew Makovsky says, can you imagine Ciampa Thatcher versus Mox and Kingston? Well, apparently Evan Wright can. Matthew Makovsky, you and Evan Wright should be best friends. We've created a match here. We're pro friendship, both in the ring and in the chat. So now you guys are best buds. I don't make the rules. You guys are best friends now. That's it. Live with it. I would like to see that as well. Chances we will ever see that. Not great. Not great, but it would be great. It would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Pete Dunne versus Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish always have a logo. He was Undisputed Era formed so early in Fish's career in NXT. I think he had one match on NXT TV, and then he joined up with Cole and O'Reilly. Did he always have a logo that was a fish bone? Bones of fish? Because I don't remember seeing that. It's an interesting. It's Bobby Fish. Fish. I did love Vic Joseph's call going to commercial. Fish done next, as though he was questioning whether or not that was going to happen. And if Bobby Fish has a little promo for Bobby Fish, Pete Dunne. Here's a video clip of me being injured. Pete Dunne injured my arm. Now, I don't know if that was actually the spot where he actually did get injured in the match, but it's cool they isolated a moment from that War Games match and said, this is where this injury happened. Pete Dunne is responsible for it. I thought that was good. I thought that's a really good little way of telling that story. Bobby Fish, it appears now, is the guy that I thought he was going to be before Undisputed Era got a hold of him. I thought he was going to be the guy who had whose whole deal was, I'm going to make your guy look really legit in the ring because I'm going to sell the crap out for him. I'm gonna make him lay it in stiff, make it look good. I'm not gonna let him cut any corners. The guys I work with are going to get better because they are in the ring doing TV matches with Bobby Fish. I feel like that's where he is now. Case in point, he just got back from a long injury layoff. He's now nominally a babyface. And he has his first match with Pete Dunne. He's got all the vengeance on his mind possible. This is a match he probably should win. but he loses. The match is really, really good. I really love this match. I thought it was excellent. Dunne and Fish both getting in some really solid licks. And there's a transition into the bitter end, right? That pump handle face buster. Pump handle flatliner, that's what it is. And Pete Dunne wins. It's a good match, man. They really tore the crap out of each other. And so Pete Dunne wins. Bobby Fish loses his return match, which is not normally a thing that they do. But I think his destiny now is to make other guys look great when he loses to them. And Pete Dunne is being sent off into the stratosphere right now. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Bobby Fish is not, which is fine. But after the match, Oney Lorcan, who's out there with Pete Dunne, just attacks Pete Dunne, just attacks Bobby Fish, and they start beating the hell out of him and attacking his injured arm. It's a weird way. Like they have a laying on the apron and his arm extended out, hyperextended, and Oney standing on his hand while also standing on his shoulder. So it forces the elbow to go double jointed, and it looks horrible. It's very vicious. It's good, some good stuff. And so Dunne and Oney look like assholes. And then puts them over as super heels. Good. And Bobby Fish maybe takes a couple of weeks off, comes back, and gets into a little feud with somebody who needs victories. I don't know, like somebody like, I don't know that this is what they're going to do. But if you have any hope of positioning a guy like Jake Atlas, for example, in the future, a series of TV matches, Jake Atlas versus Bobby Fish, Bobby Fish winning the first one and Atlas winning the next two over the course of like a month, and Atlas winning the last one with his amazing Rainbow DDT. That might really help Jake Atlas beating a guy like Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish can easily turn heel because he's been a heel most of the time anyway. He was only a babyface because he's coming back for vengeance. Now that the vengeance has been lost, he can turn heel pretty easily. I think you could do that. I'm just saying as an example of what you might be able to do with a guy like Bobby Fish. Just saying. Wallace says that Eddie Kingston, of course, was called that he looks like a pack of Newports in Max Caster's rap last week. And if Kingston equals Newports, then Thatcher equals Pall Malls. And that is a great joke for people who know cigarettes. I like it. Funny. Justin Lopez says, let's be honest. I like Fish, but he's going to be 45. This will be his role going forward. Might as well call him Coach Fish. He'll never go to the main. No, he's not going to go to the main. No. And nor should he. There's a perfectly great option for him here. He can do some really great stuff. And the coach thing is wonderful. Calling him Coach Fish. That's a great thing. He can really help out some people in the ring, in the PC. Some people who are signed to the PC who don't really know what the hell they're doing because they're, athletes from other sports or whatever, don't have a lot of training in amateur wrestling. Bobby Fish can get them trained up. So that would be good. Mercedes Martinez. Right? Now, the last time we saw Mercedes Martinez, correct me if I'm wrong, is she lost to Raquel. She was positioned as the tweener leaning babyface in that feud because Raquel's, at least for that week, was a heel. They're going back and forth a lot with who's a heel and who's a face in the women's division. So she had a really good match versus Raquel. She lost. Later in that same night, there was a little moment they videotaped where Raquel walks up to her in the trainer's room, says respect, and walks away. And Dakota Kai was in a huff about it, right? So the last we saw was she was tweener leading babyface, pushed the heel champ to a really good match, then got a respect nod from the heel champ. I don't know how that turns her heel. Especially because then tonight she's walking down the hallway and she's saying, all right, you got me. And I took you to the limit. I learned something. I know how to beat you now. And so now it starts. She's not saying, I want an immediate rematch, Raquel, which is the heel thing to do. She's saying, I'm going to start a road back to the title match that I deserve. I know I need to beat some people to get there. That's a babyface as it gets. I need to beat people to get back to the title match that I know I deserve. Right? That's babyface stuff. Right? And then as she's walking out of the camera, then we see Boa, who peeks his head around looking like a dude from the Matrix. We're like, oh, hell, hey, Tian Shaw's back. Remember them? That was like, it's been like a month. Really quickly, because we're going to talk about Mercedes again. I don't want to forget this. There's a Hit Row segment from the studio, and they all, they have little promos they cut. They're keeping their eye on all the champions. They know there's a lot of gold out there. They want it all. I like that. They're talking about how they're going to take the tag titles off of MSK. Ashanti, the Adonis, is going to take the cruiserweight title off of Kushida, and Swerve wants both the North American title and the NXT title. He didn't care. They're great. They have so much charisma. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with them. This is it though. They were too white hot after last week. You doing a studio promo with them this week seems like you're not capitalizing on that. Next week they have to be in action in some way. You got to get them in front of the crowd, whatever crowd there actually is at CWC. You got them in front of the crowd and keep that momentum building. Otherwise, you're just wasting it. NXT is back, baby, but you've just not perfect. You can be better. You can do this part better. So remember what I was saying about Mercedes Martinez doing babyface stuff, right? She comes down to the ring. It is just wall-to-wall boos, like really loud boos from the entire crowd. I don't know why we're booing Mercedes Martinez going into this match. I do not know why we're booing Mercedes Martinez. That doesn't make any sense to me. You've done all the work to make her into a tweener leaning babyface. Why would you have her be booed by everybody? I'm assuming you're in control of that because you get to sweeten all the sound and everything. It's basically the Thunderdome light. Why are you doing that? That's a weird thing to do to me. You could do smatterings of both. She could be a tweener. People will like her. People will not like her. That's fine. That's good. This just seemed like odd. It just seemed odd. She's facing Zeta Ramir, who we know from their amazing Shooting Star Press a few weeks ago versus Toni Storm, and a really good match against Saray. She's super at selling, and her job here is to make Mercedes Martinez look super vicious, super strong, and super important. And she does. Zeta Ramir has a huge, bright future. I think a lot of people myself included, got a little bit too enamored of the fact that she got that win over Toni Storm. It was not about Zeta Ramir. It was about Toni Storm and Zoe Stark's thing starting over again. And that's fine because it made Zeta Ramir look important. And now every time she's in the ring, she doesn't look like a jobber anymore because she's got that victory with Toni Storm, which is important. That's good. That's good storytelling. That's good. And she lost. That's fine. A rate crash. The big deal was that after the match, Mercedes Martinez is standing there. Her music's playing. There's a blue light. She's got the blue light for her entrance and her music. And then the light turns red, and there's fog everywhere. And then on the big Titantron behind her, which I really do enjoy this about the CWC, and I don't know what they're going to do when they have fans coming back, but I love, opposite the hard cam, that huge wall of TVs they use it really well in this particular setting. But it's the Tian Sha lady, whatever her name is, the dragon lady, 500 dragon lady. She vapes in your face. That's metal in your lungs. She vapes on the thing. She then they show what I'm assuming is the Chinese character in the Chinese language, written language, for Tian Sha or something. Maybe it's for Dragon Lady. Maybe it's the Chinese character for Metal in Your Lungs. I'm not sure. I don't read Mandarin or Cantonese or whichever one that is. I apologize. It is a character. I'm doing this on my hand for a reason. It is two horizontal lines and one vertical line going through it. And so all there's fog everywhere and the red lights, and they show that character up on the screen, and the lights go black again, and they come back up, and Mercedes Martinez is there looking like, what the hell? That was weird. And then she looks down at her hand, and scrawled in black is that same Chinese character. And brother, I'm so here for Tian Sha marking her future opponents with a literal black mark of death. That's some old school, just spooky. It doesn't have to get too crazy. Let's not spookify it too much. That's kind of cool. The old Chinese mysticism, the black spot. Whoever gets the black spot is next in line to die. Whatever you want to do with that, that's kind of cool. And Mercedes Martinez getting murked by Xia Li would really put over Xia Li hard. WWE Mark says Mercedes acted today how Drew should on Raw. Yeah, this is the thing, is that Drew is coming out going, I want a rematch. Give me my rematch. I deserve a rematch. And that makes you seem like kind of a douche, dude. He'd be like, all right, that's fine. I lost. But it's not gonna be my last time losing. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna win. My last time facing you is not gonna be, so he could easily say, I'm gonna go through everybody. Line them up. Here's the thing. Hey, Bobby, here's the deal. How about this? Next 8 weeks, give me 8 different people. 1 per week. And if I lose one of those 8 matches, then I don't get a title shot against you ever again. But if I beat those 8 guys in a row, and you can pick one guy a week, you get to pick who I beat 8 times in a row, different guys every week. Then after that 8th time beating it, then I get a title shot against you. I mean, hey, that's fresh matchups every week on Raw, which would be crazy. It would blow your mind. Fresh matchups on Raw, that's not possible. But it would be really cool because you're like, who's Drew going to face this week? And again, that's chosen by Bobby Lashley. That could be a lot of fun. But I'm saying that's a cool way to get Drew over as a babyface who wants to work his way back to the title rather than coming out and being like, I deserve a rematch. So here we go. The $1 million face-off. We see Dibiase walking around backstage talking to random people. So $1 million face-off. So Grimes in the ring with Ted DiBiase. Why, Ted? Why are you doing this to me? I wasn't always this rich, I understand, but you showed up and you're embarrassing me all the why. I look up to Ted. Why, Ted? Why? See, I realized that when you got money, you could be an asshole to everybody, and they'll still like you because you got the money. it's like, it must be true. You should never meet your idols. And Ted says, well, look, I like you, kid. I do. I like you a lot. I put you through a lot, but it's because when I look at you, I see myself. And I want to find the one individual who embodies everything the $1 Million Man stands for, the $1 Million legacy. I think you might have what it takes, but you've lost your focus since you got rich. And LA Knight comes out. Now, what did I talk about last week? I'm pretty sure I pitched this exact same thing. That Grimes doesn't face the $1 Million Man, obviously, but the $1 Million Man has a guy who faces Grimes, and during that, you can turn Grimes face because WWE doesn't know how, and across all brands, doesn't know how to have a heel that people enjoy watching, without them going like, well, hey, you know what? They enjoy watching the guy. They're not going to boo him, so we have to turn him face so they can cheer him. And then once you cheer him face, then he becomes a dipshit and a dimwit and idiot, and we don't like him anymore because they don't know how to book baby faces across all three brands. It's hard. You have like an origin story of I've worked my entire life to get here. I got the championship. Now I'm going to look like an idiot losing to distraction finishes. It's less so in NXT, but it's not like it doesn't happen. Okay. So, they're turning Grimes babyface. And it feels like it's sort of organic. But the thing about Grimes that was so great as the rich guy heel was that he was rich in a way that he shouldn't be, that's why it's funny. Like the redneck who somehow finds out about GameStop stonks and gets rich off of GameStop stonks, and sold them at the right moment so he didn't lose any of that money that he made. But he didn't do it because he went on Reddit and was part of some thread of like, this is where we buy, this is where we sell. He did it because he went into a GameStop because he likes video games and was like, I would like to buy stock in this business. I just so happened to do it as the stock was going through the roof. That's funny. That's good. And then he becomes an asshole to everybody because he's got money, but every time he does, he looks like a fool because he doesn't quite know how to do it right. So he's the clown we like laughing at. We enjoy laughing at it. It's fun because this guy's fun. You know, like he's very, very good at it. He's really fun to watch. And so we're like, this guy's a heel. What a jerk this guy is. But he always gets his comeuppance in just the right way. And we get to watch him and laugh at him. And WWE goes, oh, cool. So we'll turn him babyface then. And we're like, well, yeah, but like, don't ruin this though. Like a babyface in WWE is never positioned as somebody you can laugh at, or even laugh with. Really, they never do it right. So I see a lot of like for example, I see people who are saying that he got over organically. He did, but in like a different way. This is you have to be able to completely harness, like for example, Rusev Day. Rusev Day got over while he was a heel, and it made him a babyface. And then Vince is like, I don't like this. You didn't do it the way I wanted it to, so we're just going to bury it, right? Now they could have made Rusev Day into a babyface thing that really worked. Why? Because we weren't laughing at Rusev. We were like, we really love Rusev. Look how great he is. We want to cheer for this guy. I don't think everybody really wants to cheer for Cameron Grimes. We respect all the great work he's doing as a bumbling jerk heel. We like laughing at him, I think, is what's been going on. And now they're going to say, oh, great. Now you should feel bad for him. Well, but you've been telling us for weeks now we shouldn't feel bad for him. We should be laughing at him. It's also really hard to get the rich guy gimmick over as a babyface in 2021, in America at least. So he's going to have to lose all of his money for us to cheer for him. I think feel bad for him. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out. Yeah, it's yeah. I feel like we can be all for this now, but wait a few weeks. Wait, if you are totally in on, oh, Cameron Grimes is going to be a babyface because LA Knight comes out and says, I should be the one that you want to work with, Ted. This is me. Let me talk to you. I'm LA Knight. Look at my bright yellow leather jacket. And Cameron Grimes says, get out of my ring. This is supposed to be $1 million face-off, just me and Ted. And so he stupidly threatens the heel and then turns his back on him for no reason. And then LA Knight hits him with his finisher, because of course he does. That's the beginning of Cameron Grimes being a stupid babyface, is that he turns his back on him, and that's not good. And LA Knight has to do something. LA Knight has to do something. And I think that what he's done now is he's put himself out there. He's like, I'm not a millionaire yet, but with your help, I will be. And it looks like Dibiase is, after he hit his finisher on Grimes, Ted Dibiase stands over Grimes and says, kid, you just don't get it. And then he laughs, and then he leaves with LA Knight. So I think we're supposed to say that this thing has already kind of happened. You know what I mean? With this team up it's already done. It already happened. So LA Knight is now, I think, at least if he's not yet, he will be very soon, with Ted DiBiase and taking on Cameron Grimes. I see a lot of let's have Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight at TakeOver for the $1 million belt. And I'm like, okay. Maybe we'll see how they set this up. I think that that Grimes is just so great, and I loved watching him because what he was doing worked. And they're not going to let him keep doing the same things that he's been doing now that he's supposed to be a babyface. They're going to have him change. And when they have him change, I don't think this new stuff that they're going to have him do is going to work nearly as well, and then it's going to fall apart. I hope I'm not right, but I think that they've kind of sealed Cameron Grimes' fate already with this. It really depends on how they book this whole thing, but I have more faith in them because it's NXT, but I have less faith in them because it's WWE as a whole. Yeah. Yes, people in the chat saying it wasn't going to last forever, and no, it wasn't. But it had another month, 2 of legs. As I say, this in your house thing, that's not a mega pay-per-view deal. That's not a big time takeover. Maybe it could have lasted until the SummerSlam one. Maybe. And then you could have done the big blow off there, but I think there was a story to tell with Cameron Grimes slowly losing all of his money and eventually becoming like a squalid little hobo. That's a story you can tell. And maybe like organically, as he loses more of his money, trying to prove himself to Ted DiBiase by buying more expensive things and putting bets down on stuff that he ends up losing. And eventually we feel sorry for him because the bets are always rigged against him or whatever. I don't, yeah. We'll see. Frankie Monet has her debut. I say debut. I don't know why I said it like I was Scottish trying to do a French accent. Debut. Versus Cora Jade. Frankie Monet doesn't bring the dog out to the ring, so right away she's a heel. She leaves the dog with like the makeup lady's assistant. And she looks like $1 million. She's got this really, they say it's a 35,000 euro robe, fresh from the runways of Paris. All right, it looks good. It's fun. She's wearing the same Taya Valkyrie stuff with that right down to the furry boot covers. That's good. She's doing all the Taya Valkyrie moves. That's good. Cora Jade gets a couple little quick things of offense, but that doesn't matter because Frankie Monet cuts her in half with a spear, and then she does a sit-out glam slam for the victory. And Beth Phoenix says, "Well, that looks familiar." So I don't quote me on this. It sure does look like they could do this. I don't know what they're doing with Frankie Monet right now. I think she's got a bright future. I don't know what they're doing right now. So maybe we get something. I'm not saying they'll have a match, but maybe we get something that starts up between Beth and Frankie that they don't like each other because Frankie stole Beth's move. I don't know. I'm not saying they're not going to have a match. That Beth would even want to have a match. But that would be something they could do. They would immediately become a major deal for Frankie Monet to do stuff. She talks about how she's the Wera Loca and that you can't mess with her. They're not leaning into a lot of the. I spent years and years wrestling in in Mexico thing, which was part of her character, the white girl who wrestled in Mexico a lot. I think that it's a kind of a cool part of her that they're not really leaning into yet, but they might eventually. More, it seems to be more like she's glamorous in a weird heelish kind of way. But big things in the future for Frankie Monet. Bid Moon says, Frankie Drip Drip. Great show. Overall, I thought it was a good show. It was building to some stuff. The Nerd Guru says, I've written in my headcanon that John Morrison was live tweeting this as a cry for help to send him up to NXT. Much like I said last week. Yeah, John Morrison was live tweeting this, but it's his wife. He should be showing support for his wife. I don't know that it's a cry for help necessarily, but maybe it should be. Because with no Miz, because he's injured, I don't know what they have planned for John Morrison. But the answer is probably nothing. So why not? Why not put him on NXT for a little while? Why the hell not? So Grizzly Young Veterans have a backstage little promo. I'm like, Tommy and Timmy, we don't care about you. We're done with you. We want MSK. They talk about other tag teams they're gonna go on and beat, and they're soon to be recognized as NXT tag team champions. I like GYV. This does feel like it's going to be a big time, several team match at Takeover. Does it not? To anybody else? Like Tommy and Timmy, GYV, maybe Imperium versus MSK. I think Legado de Fantasma loses next week to MSK, and then there are 3 teams that will stake their claim to be that and maybe have a 4 corners match at the Takeover. I'm just trying to figure out where you're going to go from here. You got 2 weeks left, and you really haven't set up anything concretely yet. Yes, sorry, Evan, right. Canadian, whoops, I hit the wrong one. Evan Wright says, yes, Canadian white girl, not American. Thank you. Agreed. Bronson, hey, yeah. We see Bronson Reed and Kushida backstage together. It's nice that they're friends. We're pro friendship here. But speaking of friendship, since last week, was it last week? My God. Alexander Wolf got jumped out of Imperium by Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. Turns out he also got jumped out of all of NXT and WWE because he was released like the next day or 2 days later, whenever it was. So I appreciate that they did an actual write-off of his character. That's good for storylines. I hate when people disappear. I'm like, oh, what the hell happened to that guy? This is good. They wrote it off. It's not good that he lost his job. That sucks. But hopefully he'll be able to do some better stuff elsewhere. He had like one of the all-time amazing performances in a tag team, like was it the War Games match? I think it was the War Games match where it was like, holy hell, Alexander Wolf, where the hell have you been my whole life? So he's talented. They didn't let him show it recently. Man, it's crazy to me how poorly they mismanaged Sanity, considering how huge they were in NXT and got called up to the main roster, and they did nothing with them. God, that was just so bad. Anyway, we see Walter giving a speech to Marcel and Fabian. So we got rid of Alexander Wolf. He was the weak link. He's gone. He didn't deserve to be part of our thing. Bye-bye. And now what we see is that you guys need to right the ship and start behaving like you really believe the mat is sacred. First thing you got to do is get revenge on Breezango for taking the tag title away from you months ago. So I think the next thing we're going to see happen is Imperium going to beat the hell out of the Breezango. And then that's how they get added to that triple threat. But yeah, they are showmen. That's I love that Walter calls them showmen and not pro wrestlers. That's good. That's a good insult. So Bronson Reed has his little congratulations party in the ring. 14-year journey. A lot of people told me no, blah blah blah. It's his, like, I deserve this. Thank you for telling me I deserve it. Yes, I do deserve it. I worked hard to get here. Now I'm here. Nobody's going to take this away from me. And the person who comes out to take it away from him is like, oh, why did I not think this was the next step? Because it's Santos Escobar. And you can give me all of the Santos Escobar versus Bronson Reed that you would like to give me. I will come back for second helpings, thirds, fourths. I will gorge myself on Bronson Reed versus Santos Escobar. Thank you very much. I love Santos being like, the cruiserweight title is just a thing because I happen to be under 205. I doesn't matter. Maybe I'll put on a few pounds. Maybe I'll eat a really big Mexican buffet, few extra tacos next week, and I'll come back and I'll be over that limit. So I can't do cruiserweight stuff anymore. And now I'm coming after you, big boy. We proved that he could hang with Kross in that. Actually, it might have been Kross's best match, I think. I mean, Balor was really good, the first Balor, but that the best story, like it was completely unexpected how much I loved that Kross versus Santos Escobar match. That was the most Kross has looked like a star to me, was in that match, and it might be because he was in the ring with Santos Escobar. Because Santos Escobar is a real deal, man. He really is. So It's a wonderful story that you have, sir. But I can't relate because I was born a champion. I didn't have to work my way to get anything. I was there from the beginning. The business belongs to me, and so they're going to rush him and take it. And so then MSK runs in and they back him up. I kind of like the idea of all the baby faces in NXT, the champions being all friends, just because, again, we're pro friendship. But on the main roster, nobody has friends. Like, you see guys get jumped all the time. Like, earlier in the evening, poor Bobby Fish got taken apart by Oni and Pete, and nobody came out to help him, which might be your signal that he is going to turn heel soon. But because in NXT, MSK is out there to help everybody. They helped Kushida a few weeks ago. Now they're helping Bronson Reed. They're helping everybody. So Legado de Fantasma versus MSK is going to be next week. That should be a lot of fun. And Santos versus Bronson Reed in your house could be really great. They haven't made any of these matches official, but it certainly seems like that's what they're going to do. That's good. So here's the deal. Regal announces that the big match tonight will have a winner, and then we're going to need somebody to be not top contender. So next week it'll be Pete Dunne versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Johnny Gargano in a triple threat. And the winner will face Kross at Takeover in Your House on June 13th. Again, 2 weeks. Which is why I thought, well, they're never going to do a actual finish in Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. They're not actually going to do that, right? Because why would they do that? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What? I'm confused. They only have 2 weeks after it to build somebody for this title shot at Takeover. Why not just put off the Finn versus Kross match where Finn presumably loses and has to get pulled back down to the main roster? Why not do that at the Takeover? It doesn't make a lot of sense to do it now when you could do it then. And now you got Johnny Gargano, who lost the North American title last week, who gets put in the number one contendership triple threat 2 weeks later by a guy who he actively hates and who actively hates him. Like, I don't want Regal to be like the asshole GM who is unreasonably biased against people. But Johnny Gargano's been an asshole to him all the time. And Johnny Gargano lost his North American title last week. Him just being put in this triple threat match by Regal doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think you could have done it where, like, Johnny Gargano had to win a match to get into the triple threat, and you could have done that match tonight if you're going to do the triple threat next week. But it seems weird to be doing that way. Dunne versus O'Reilly versus Gargano next week's going to hump. It's going to be great. And I don't think there's a wrong answer for who comes out of that. But you only get one, because that's going to main event the show next week. You only get one episode of NXT to build for your title match. Or is it two? I guess it's 2 NXT matches. Yeah. What did I say about people not doing title shots? You're right. It's true. At least if Gargano were to win that match, he would earn that match. Gargano versus Kross sounds like a snoozer to some people. I think that Gargano could make it work. But yeah, I don't think that's the route they're going to take. I think they're going to do Kyle O'Reilly. So yeah, there's just so, with all that stuff about who's getting called up, who's not, or pulled down. I think we're going to call it that. From now on, we're not calling them call-ups. You're getting pulled down, dragged down to the main roster from NXT. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it seems a weird choice to me to do all of your build for the takeover in a couple of weeks. Seems, yeah. I think Gargano can get a great match out of almost anybody, and really works well with guys who can. His stuff with Bronson Reed was really, really great. I don't see. I don't see it in Karrion Kross, guys. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So it's hard for me to like figure out how they're going to run that. It's Karrion Kross just beat a guy vaguely Gargano's size tonight. Isn't he going to do the same exact stuff to a? I don't know. This is the part of the episode that's sour grabs. Because Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross was a very good match. It wasn't, I don't think, nearly as good as their first. But I feel like that one had bigger question marks to me about because honestly, you could have made me believe they don't want to take the title off of Finn Balor. He's been doing great work as the champion. Like when he got hurt, they didn't take the title off of him. Then they took the title off of Karrion Kross when he got hurt. So maybe they've decided to cool off on the whole Karrion Kross mega push. Make him earn it. Make him win a whole bunch of matches to get back there. If he loses to Finn Balor, that's just the first step in his climb up to the top. Maybe that was what they were going to do. Now, with Kross having gotten the title back from Balor and Balor challenging for it again, it just felt like a foregone conclusion. And unfortunately, I was right. They sold me a ticket at the end. I thought, because I still believe that that Vince doesn't know who anybody is in NXT. He doesn't. He has no clue. And he doesn't know who anybody is in NXT. So if Vince hasn't seen anything about Karrion Kross, he doesn't know anything. But like, please, can somebody just like send Vince an email with files in it of clips of Karrion Kross just being fairly large and bald and mean looking and wearing a gladiator costume. So Vince gets enamored with this guy and demands that Paul give him whoever the hell this guy is. And I was hoping maybe somebody showed Vince those clips 3 days ago, and he told Paul, "I need that guy," and Paul was like, "I don't wanna, but okay, fine, Dad." But I don't know. This just seemed like a foregone conclusion to me. There was one really good near fall at the end, but that was it, and I wasn't in on it after. Yeah. That wasn't a near fall. It was a near choke. That it was almost like they had Kross go to sleep to Balor's version of the straitjacket. And I was so hopeful that Balor might win that I didn't recognize they're not going to do that to Kross. Have him pass out in his own move. They're not going to do that. So he makes Balor pass out in it. Oh, one deal I wanted to mention. They're doing this tail of the tape thing in NXT now for big time matches. Well, they'll show you, here's the person's vitals, how tall and how heavy they are, and their strengths in the ring, and then a little deal about them, how long they've been there, how many times they've won championships, whatever. So the first person they show is Finn Balor. They say he's 5'11", and then they say that Karrion Kross is 6'4". And then they have them stand nose to nose with each other. And I'll tell you this. Speaking as a guy who is 5'11" and who has a brother that is 6'4", If Finn Balor is, as you say, 5'11", ain't no way in hell Karrion Kross is 6'4". Come on. 6'2", maybe. 6'1.5", perhaps. 6'4", if Finn Balor is 5'11". Because, like, when I stand next to my brother, I look like a shrimp. You know what I mean? Like, they were basically nose to nose with each other, unless you put lifts in Finn's boots, but not in Karrion Kross's, which wouldn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. No. Yeah. Evan says that Adam Cole is billed as 6 foot tall. He ain't 6 foot tall. So maybe Finn is actually 5'8". And if that's the case, then Karrion Kross is like 6 foot even. Less than that. He's my height. So this is what we got going forward. We got more Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross has had like 9 matches since August. I know he was hurt for part of that, but he's only had 3 title defenses. They seem to be hiding him. Maybe they're trying to make him seem special, but it's not. He's not special. Like, he's just not. They haven't done anything to prove that he is. He looked great against that Santos Escobar versus the other 2 guys, man. Like, that was the most he's looked great. He had that great match with Finn the first time. I don't remember another good match he's had. The Finn Balor one was great. That match for Santos Escobar was so good. What a great match that was. Then this match with Finn Balor was good. It was very good. It was not great to me, and a lot of that is because it seemed kind of obvious where they were going with it. So I'm going to need to see some more great matches from the guy before, especially because I don't feel like he's great on the mic. I don't feel like he's super charismatic. He growls through his teeth a lot, and he's got a sorceress for a wife. Like, that's not enough for me. Sorry, guys. The Nerd Guru super chat. Yeah, we're coming to the home stretch. You got any more super chats, guys? Send them in, and then we'll talk about them before we go off the air. Nerd Guru says Finn being pulled down to the main roster and does anything short of feuding with Roman, then they failed. Also, where's Adam Cole? R.I.P. Larry Steve. R.I.P. Larry Steve. If you don't know about Larry Steve, you should look it up. And Larry Steve was a very good pig. He was very cute when he was younger. As pigs do, they get less cute as they get older, but he was still cute. And he's gone way too soon. He was like just, I think like Alexa Bliss's pet pig, died. She said a day short of his 4th birthday, and pigs live usually to be between 10 and 20, if you don't turn them into bacon before that. But too bad for Larry Steve. And yes, 100%. If they call up Finn, that he needs to be on SmackDown, not Raw. For God's sake, not Raw. If he's on SmackDown, he needs to work with Roman. He needs to be put right back in that picture. If he gets called up to Raw, as soon as he shows up on Raw, he's the guy who's facing Bobby Lashley. I don't want him on Raw. Raw's that's a dumpster fire. But as soon as he shows up on either Raw or SmackDown, he is the guy positioned to face Roman or Bobby Lashley, or this entire Finn to NXT experiment has been a huge failure. It's got to be. It's just got to be. All right, everybody, we've gone a little long on this podcast, but there was so much to talk about. Yeah, NXT is back, baby. They've got some more work to do. they're in a really great position with a lot of really great people. And maybe they'll start after In Your House, they'll start really spending time building feuds towards something. It is, I love Santos Escobar, and I'm not, again, give me all of Bronson Reed and Santos Escobar. Him just walking out and declaring, I am the next contender for the North American Championship, just seems like that's main roster shit right there. You don't need to do that. You can have them start an actual feud as opposed to just like, I shall be your next challenger. Ryan Rhoda says, Finn as a mystery entrant in the Money in the Bank and wins it. It's possible. It's possible. It all depends on what they want to do with that. The Money in the Bank thing could be Money in the Bank they need to really do something with that because has not been good recently. I will say that. Everybody, please, if you have not, subscribe to Fightful Select because you will get me there in very soon talking about Raw and what a dumpster fire it was last night, and how I hate it. Because I'll be doing that on Fightful Select, the Sour Graps show. There's no AEW tomorrow night because the NBA playoffs. The show AEW is on Friday night after SmackDown, and after AEW, I will be on this channel hosting a recap of that, the go home show for AEW for Double or Nothing, because Sean is going to be at Double or Nothing. So yeah, you get lots of me this week. Hope you're happy. I've been Alex Pawlowski. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Sour Graps. Thanks for being here. NXT is back, baby.